Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. Have a awesome speaker with an awesome topic today. Um, the young lady who's going to be our guest speaker is someone who I've met in person. Doesn't live in my state. We've met through a real estate event. We're in the same education program for a bit. Um, she started as a student, became an investor, now a very successful entrepreneur. She's trailblazing in the field of multifamily. She started this way before it even became the big deal, but now she's the big deal. I'd like to introduce my guest speaker and my good friend, Bethany Finch. Bethany, how are you?
Hey, JJ. Well, thanks for the glowing review. I don't know that I'm the big deal, but we got lots to talk about, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, really quick, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
So, technically, at the moment, I'm located in Washington State. That's generally what we call the home base. We are 100% remote and we travel the country in our RV. So, generally in the wintertime, man, my Florida properties, they're so needy. Louisiana properties in Alabama, they are so needy in the wintertime. But summertime, the Pacific Northwest is home, and that's where I'm back at for sure.
There you go. Hey, well, let me ask you, try and surmise this a little bit. We all get started in a different way. We go to school, we go to work, we get into the workforce. We're driving at 16, voting at 18, we're can buy an alcoholic beverage at 21. Um, but through those developmental years, I mean, was real estate on the landscape for you early on, or did it come later? If not, what were you doing through your years from your teens and your 20s? What was life like for you?
Um, Life was kind of like what you see in a movie, and not in a good way. I grew up raised by a single mom, ended up in foster care, and spent most of my formative years figuring out how to scrap together some money for some school clothes or to get sports fees and things. I played sports so I could have a way out, and in doing so, I was started my first business when I was 10 years old.
Wow, wow. We had met through fortune builders, but you know, um, I get back to starting your first business at 10 years old. I mean, again, we met through an educational platform called Fortune Builders. I think they're pretty much changed their complexion from when I got in there many years ago. Um, but how did you make that move into real estate? Was it something you saw on TV? Was it a live event? Was it bigger pockets? Did you get right into a program or did you do a few things beforehand?
So, because of the way I grew up, I figured out very quickly, and they're pushing the whole college route. Well, the whole point of college was to get a job. Well, I don't know what kind of job I wanted to do. I'd worked so many different jobs, had no idea. So I just kept figuring out what I didn't want to do and worked towards corporate America and got the corporate America dream job. Hated it. 6 months, I was out. Absolutely hated it. But I had to figure out something and knew I liked working with people. Saw the most millionaires ever in real estate. So I thought, well, I've got to figure this out. So when we moved back to the Seattle area, my husband and I started from the ground up on the apartments we lived in. He started as a groundskeeper, and I started helping out in the office on the property management side.
There you go. Hey, how did you get into the education program?
So you don't know what you don't know. So what I knew was multifamily. But when I started talking to my husband more about, I can do this. We can totally run our own apartments. We can do all this. We know how to do this. We've got the skill sets. He had zero faith in me. And it was mostly because of his fear factor. He had no idea. He's never paid really attention. I know this probably tons of you husbands out there that are great listeners and great attention givers. Mine was a little low in that scale. So he never really knew the side businesses that I was running to keep our family afloat. He had no idea. I even ran one business at a loss to offset so we could bring more of his paycheck home. So I had already been trying to get into the multifamily in other states where it was a lot less expensive. And he was terrified, absolutely terrified. So he said, you need to go do single family. And I said, I don't know anything about single family. I literally knew zero about single family. And he's like, no, you need to go to single family. So I was driving down the road and I had just left an appointment from Edward Jones. So Edward Jones was running this, hey, have you, an ad towards moms. Moms, how many of you actually have a retirement account? Well, I was working 3 jobs. I didn't have no retirement account. And so I made an appointment, went in. I had just left their office, and they basically told me $250 and I can start an IRA. That was what they were going to do. They were going to set me up with an IRA with $250. No plan, no anything, but that's all I knew. When I left, I heard a radio advertisement for fortune builders. Hey, so you want to get started investing in real estate? Come for a free 2-hour workshop.
Of course.
I went for the 2-hour workshop. 30 minutes into it, I knew I needed to do this program. So instead of giving Edward Jones my $250, I gave $197 to fortune builders, got 3 days training out of the deal. And after day 1, already had my first deal under contract and already had the buyer. And within the first 6 months, I had already made all of my tuition money back.
That's amazing. I know that it's not always that easy to get the first deal.
There was nothing easy. Yeah, I screwed everything up.
Or
I didn't
maybe
do any of it
wrong
right.
word. It doesn't always come that quickly.
Yes. I was highly motivated. I knew I couldn't keep going the path I was on. I knew I needed to find something. I wanted to be there for my kids and grandkids. I didn't want to be the grandma that's there babysitting every day because nobody else can afford anything. I wanted to be the grandma that swooped in, took the grandkids for a month, went off and did some great fun adventure, and then bring them back home. And mom and dad got the summer off to do whatever they needed to do. That's the kind of grandma I wanted to be. So I knew that was going to take time and money. I had to figure out how to get more of those.
Hey, let's jump into the meat and potatoes. Multifamily, and your topic is getting started, do's and don'ts. So for those that are interested, we have several people on the call that are very interested in the topic today. Why don't you just kind of jump into it? How does one get started? What are some of the do's and don'ts?
One of the biggest reasons why we went into multifamily, yes, because we knew it, but 2, because there's always a demand. People always need a place to live. They don't always need a house. They just need a place to live. And multifamily is how the government says they can pack in as many people as possible. But it doesn't always make sense if it's in states like Washington, California, and your landlord laws are against you. So we focused even more heavily in 2020 on our build to rent because we saw the need for multifamily was still there, but people learned in COVID they didn't want to be in their apartments. So how to get started? Find the need. You really have to find whatever the need is and then meet that need. So if the need in your area is single family homes, find a way to meet that need. If the need in your area is multifamily, find a way to meet that need. But I don't always encourage everybody to go in their own backyard. In fact, I rarely tell people to go in their backyard. This is just some of the government statistics. Government is throwing a ton of money at multifamily and new construction because they created a shortfall with COVID. So renters are still always going to need to be there, but we have to figure out a way how to meet that. So how do you get started? Everybody wants to get started in multifamily, but they don't know how. Well, the first thing is you got to pick what market you even want to go in. Do you want to be in a red state or a blue state? The politics of the state do play a factor, very big factor, in whether or not you can be successful in multifamily. In Washington, they just passed a whole nother set of laws, and you have to give 6 months notice to raise the rent at all. And if it is above 10%, you have to pay for their moving expenses should they decide to leave because of the rent hike. Wow. So it's unbelievable the amount of burden they have put on. So many properties in Washington are going to be hitting the market this year because the landlords can't afford it. They still have some of them. It can take 6 months to evict somebody. Well, that's 6 months that we still have to pay the bills. So if you have multifamily, you have a bigger buffer. So in multifamily, if you have 100 units, it would take 30 of them not paying their bills before you probably couldn't pay your bills. So it's pretty unlikely that 30 of them are going to do it. unless you get things like COVID when they start talking to each other. Then it can become a challenge and a problem. So you really want to know your market. You want to pick the market that one has the price points you like. If $42 million scares you, don't go into Dallas. We just were running numbers on a $60 million project. You don't want that number, don't look at that market. If say 200,000 is more your speed, look at some other markets like in Alabama and Tennessee, where that number is a lot closer to there, but you can still get a good cap rate. Then you want to figure out who should be on your team, because it's a team. You're not going to be able to sign on the loan, run the property, find the property, hire the on-site people, keep track of all the tenants and leases. Even with all the technology today, you're not going to be able to do it alone. You're going to need other people, especially if you're working another full-time job. And so people think, oh, I'll just start small. I'll start with a 5-unit or a 10-unit. Totally fine, totally doable. But if you're self-managing, that's still, you're creating another job for yourself. So do you still want to keep doing that? Is your plan to get you out? Or what's the reason you're doing multifamily in the first place? Because if your plan is to create passive income, you need to know your why, because there's going to be a lot of hard work to get there. Once you get there, it's great, but you still got to do all the hard work to get there. So when can you get started? You can get started right now, but it all depends on what you're willing to do and how much time you're willing to spend. What do you need to close on a deal? So many people have no idea what they need to actually close on multifamily. Multifamily is a different loan product. So if you don't have someone who has signed on a Fannie or Freddie loan on your team, they're not giving you a loan. So you need to understand the different loan products that are available to you. And if you might need someone like a key principal on your team who can sign on that loan because they have the net worth liquidity, or they have the opportunity because they've done it before. You also need to know how to find a deal. There's a lot of wholesalers out there. I have yet to meet one wholesaler who actually knows how to correctly wholesale multifamily. They try to do it like single family, and it's not the same. And in doing so, they end up ruining the deal, so it's no longer a deal. They don't put it under the right contract. They don't have it the right amount of time and due diligence. They take way too big a cut. They don't leave anything left for the deal to make any sense. So you have to know how to find a deal. It's not the same way that you would a single family. And whether you work with a broker or you work like we do, a lot of stuff off market, which means we are not working with brokers. I have brokers that we work with, but that's not my primary source. I intentionally don't do that because I'm trying to get things off market. So we're working in a whole different marketing pool to find those deals. Once you think you find a deal, you have to know what price to buy it at. If you took any education, you know you make your money on your buy. So if you don't know how and what that number should look like and how to get to that number, it could just be simple because maybe you're in California and your homes are average 800,000. You pull up a apartment in Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, it's a 20 unit and they're only asking 200,000. That's got to be a great deal. You may not know that that great deal is in the worst part of town. You're threatening your life if you walk on it. You may not know that it's 200,000 upside down and no bank's going to loan to you. There's so many ways that you can get it wrong. So how do you know what price to buy it at? That's where the education comes in. And that's why it's so important that you're going to pay for education, whether it's through life experience the hard way, or whether it's through education and paying and going through a program like JJ and I did. We did single family. That's where we met, was with our single family. I learned the hard way with multifamily, and then I took even more advanced training on multifamily. So that's how I learned other resources that I needed. I had no idea when I started that you might use a different inspector. I had no idea. So I unfortunately paid one inspector $10,000 for an inspection that should have only cost me $2,000, all because I didn't know and I got the wrong kind of inspector. So you don't even know what insurance is a huge expense on multifamily. And it is highly probable that you can put yourself in a wrong policy, especially in some of these other states where there's tornadoes, there's earthquakes, there's flooding, there's hurricanes. If you don't know and understand a wind deductible and or named storms and the caveats that they carve out of that, you may think you're covered only to find out that you're not. So you may not know or understand that you have to have a different contractor. If you're working in a, depending on what they're doing, like in Washington State, just to work on a hot tub that's a community hot tub, you not only have to have fully licensed, but they actually have to have an engineer design it to simply replace the pump. They've completely changed the laws. It's an absolute huge waste of time and money. And if you don't know that, the health department will shut you down and now you can't use your hot tub the entire time. And that's an amenity that people are paying for. So now you also can get in trouble for that. So you'll want to know who's going to manage it. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be someone else? Are you going to try to use some software? What does that look like? What's your business plan? How does your business plan work? Is your plan to buy it and flip it? If so, you think you're flipping that thing in 6 months, it is not going to happen. The soonest I have ever seen multifamily flip was 18 months. And the reason is because you're dealing with people. There are tenant laws that apply. You can only get people out so fast. It depends on the CapEx projects that you're doing. But if you don't know this and understand this, if you say, well, I'm going to sell it in 18 months, I'm going to do all this work and then I'm going to sell it in 18 months, you could be setting yourself up for failure because in 18 months, the market could be in a different place. And if you would have held for another 6 months, you could make double your money. So understanding your business plan and how it works so that you can pull the trigger when it's the right time. Some people don't plan to actually sell it at all. They just refinance it and let it keep cash flowing. A lot of mobile home parks do that, storage facilities, newer multifamily does that as well. So like all of our build to rent stuff, we'll be refinancing a lot of ours and keeping them because we know exactly what we have. We know what was put into it and it's all brand new. So it doesn't necessarily make sense for us to sell. It just makes sense to refinance and pull our equity out. So getting started, you want to know and understand that. But if you don't know how and when to exit, you don't know how and when to stay, you're going to have to get some kind of education. So can you go onto Bigger Pockets? Yes. Personal story, Brandon and I obviously have been around a long time. When he was just getting started in Bigger Pockets, we we had a lot of FaceTime together because we were in the same area. He is one of the original slumlords out of Shelton, Washington. So I used to get on him constantly. In his mind, hey, they're paying the bills. What do I care? In his mind, 3 of the 4 burners don't work, but 1 still does. So that's good enough. But I tried to explain to him that if you have a family and you're trying to cook on 1 burner, that's terrible. It's horrible. And he didn't understand at the time. He was just barely newly married and they had no kids. So it's something that you want to understand where you can find your education. If you're going to get your education on your own, YouTube University or Bigger Pockets, and you're just going to kind of piecemeal it together, it's going to be much slower. Education is a much faster process. When you can partner with someone that is already experienced, it helps you. You can come alongside. So one of the best ways to get started in multifamily is find some area that you can bring value in. For instance, maybe you're a spreadsheet guy and you love analyzing numbers and crunching data and all of this. So you might go in on the underwriting side. You might be one of them that says, hey, I will work for free to come alongside you and learn how to underwrite multifamily. And then someone there basically teaches you how to do it. And then you keep working for them for free until you get a deal. And then you're in on part of that deal. Or maybe you love talking with brokers. That is a knack, and not everybody has it. Because brokers are only as good as long as they remember you. If they don't remember you, when the deal comes across their desk, it's going to whoever else they remember at that moment. So broker relationships are really important, but there's a knack to maintaining them. And so if that's you, maybe that's the skill set you bring and you really work a specific market and you work on those broker relationships. And you stay front of mind for them. And maybe you're able to say, bring a deal to us because you say, oh, Bethany's in Jacksonville. My broker just said they got this Jacksonville deal. Let me reach out to Bethany and see if she's interested. And now we walk through the project acquisition part of it. You learn all of that. And then in doing so, part of bringing a deal is you get to be part of the team. So there's lots of ways that you can get started, whether it's going through a program like I did. I used Michael Blanc's years and years ago. I did his online, but remember, I had firsthand experience. So in that firsthand experience, what I did was when I went through Michael's, I just added all the extra stuff I didn't know. And then there was still more to learn even after that. Once you get your first deal, the law of the first deal is 2 and 3 are already in the pipeline. And usually if you close on one deal your first year, you'll usually close on deal 2 and 3 that same year. So it really is just the way it goes and the speed and all of that. So you could get started by just going out, calling a broker, finding a deal. You can get started that way. You might lose your shirt. You might lose your property. You might have tenants coming after you in lawsuits. There's all kinds of bad things that can happen, but you could also be very successful. You might be super intelligent and smarter than all the rest of us and know exactly what needs to be done. And you figure it out and you could do extremely well with it. There's all kinds of scenarios. I heard several of you are Pace Morby students. So in multifamily, only certain loans can be transferred to a new owner. Because multifamily, it is based on the income of the property and the operator. So if the loan is a recourse or non-recourse. So if you don't understand that, and I see a lot of Pace Morby students get that wrong. So you may have already known that, not a problem, but that is something that you can assume them, certain loans. Not all loans are assumable in multifamily, and you do need to know that. There's also hefty prepayment penalties. So if you sell it too early, you might not even pay any attention, but that extra 1, 2, 3, 4% on a $2, $3, $4 million property, that adds up to a pretty penny that you may not have thought about. So some of the do's, do have a team that you've tested. Do not go to some program that you have gone through and say, hey, you want to partner with me? Let's partner. Neither one of us know a thing, but let's partner. You're not setting yourself up for success. So when you do that, you want to find a team that you've actually tested. Maybe it's somebody that you've worked together in a different field even, and you're both IT technicians. So you know their skill set, and maybe their skill set's complementary to you. Maybe it's somebody that you, longtime friend. If it is family or friends, I highly encourage you to, the best way to say this is rethink it. Because the number 1 and 2 reasons for divorces is stress and finance. And you have both in multifamily. So if you have not tested that team, then the moment that stress hits and those finances get tight, people don't necessarily act like they would normally. It's a true test of character. So if you haven't tested that, it may not be a good fit. So one of the other do's, know your lending product. Different products have balloon payments. Different products have sliding rates that they'll change, and that can be a huge jump. Certain ones will have prepayment penalties, like I mentioned before. Certain ones require you to have a certain amount of liquidity in net worth assets available at any time, and they can audit you. So every quarter, they can require you to show that those assets are still available should you need to be liquid and sell. Do have experience. If you do not have any experience, no lender is going to give you a loan to buy one. You have to have some kind of experience or someone on your team who does. So if you've never done anything in multifamily, partner with someone who has. If you have had several single family rentals, don't try jumping into a 300 unit multifamily. No lender's going to give you a loan, but they might give you a loan on a 10 unit because you've managed your own portfolio. So you have to keep things within reason because lenders are very conservative. They may not know, nor do they care to know what you think you can do. They only care about the facts. And in their mind, the facts are you don't have any experience. So find someone to be on your team that has that experience. Do learn how to buy it right. Multifamily is bought on the amount of income it is bringing in. It is not based on, like, single family residential is based on the comps in the area. Oh, this house sold for 200,000. This one's similar and it sold for 300,000. This one sold for 275. Okay, that makes your house about 270. That's not how they do multifamily. Multifamily is with a cap rate. So what they do with the cap rate is cap rate equals the NOI, which is the net operating income, divided by the purchase price. So if you know any of those two, you can figure out the other one. So for instance, if you have an NOI of $100,000 and your cap rate is, I'm going to do some quick math so I don't mess this up. If your NOI is $100,000 and your cap rate is a 10%, that means you should be buying that property for $1 million. That's the price of the property. That's the value that the appraiser is going to value it at. So every market has a cap rate. It's basically what that product is trading for, and you can look it up online. So if you know that market is a 6 cap, a lot of the markets we operate in are 6 cap markets. Houston's one of our markets. It's a 6 cap. So if this property is 100,000 in NOI and it's a 6 cap by 6%, I'm going to be paying roughly 1.6 million because the value is based on the income that's coming in. So understanding how to buy it, there's quick and easy ways. I do a back of the napkin one on everything to determine if it's even worth my time looking at anything else. When you do that, you're taking the net operating income, or they'll usually tell you the gross. So they'll tell you the gross amount that they're bringing in for the whole year. Take out 50% for expenses right off the top. Then determine that's your NOI, divide it by your cap rate, and that's roughly the ballpark you should be looking at. If that number is cheaper than it would be if you were to rebuild that entire project, then it's worth taking another look at. Because right now, that's where the numbers are the most lucrative. If it's cheaper to build new, that property's not going to be worth it because of all the amount of CapEx you're going to have to dump into it. So you want to know how to buy it and what that looks like. You also want to know how you can make it more profitable because, again, it's not based on the comps. So that curb appeal may not necessarily equate to profit unless it brings more tenants to yours that are willing to pay a higher rent. You do want to know how and when to sell. If you want to keep it forever, then no big deal, but you will have to refinance at some point. And there is a process. There's quite a bit of paperwork and work to selling or refinancing just the same. So you want to know how and when, because there are differences in ways that you get things done. And sometimes you can save thousands of dollars in fees just knowing the how of selling or refinancing. You do want to know exactly what you're buying and what you're actually able to do. So at one point, we did not know that when we bought a property, all of the fire hydrants on the property were ours. We thought they were actually city because they were near the sidewalks. And so we thought the city had to maintain them. Well, when the fire marshal came around, he informed it was us that it was our responsibility because we owned them. We did not know that. That was a $50,000 bill that we were not planning on. So you want to know exactly what you're buying and what you're able to do. Agents are people just like everybody else. And agents, if their lips are moving, they're lying. That's just the way it is. They're just trying to make a commission. So when you understand that, most of them have no idea what the zoning laws are. Most of them have no idea how things work or don't, especially a lot of times if they've been in residential and then they move to commercial, they really don't know. Most of the ones that have been in commercial for a long time, they're the ones that start to know. So they'll tell you, oh yeah, see that big empty grass area, you could turn that into another 10 unit or another 4 unit or another 20 unit. They have no idea that it's a green space that you're not allowed to work with because there's a creek on the one corner of it and the city decided you were not allowed to. So but they're going to sell you on that to make you pay more. And that's why you never want to buy a property based on what it could be, because you're the one taking all the risk. So you do want to know what you're able to do, if there's possibility for new builds or new constructions, even sometimes putting in, we had a property where we put in brand new washer and dryers in all the units, and then proceeded to have a massive sewer problem because it was so much more water in the lines, and the lines, there was a bunch of cracks and leaks in the lines that we didn't know about, and we ended up having to reline the entire property. So that was another expensive learning lesson that we're not going to be repeating. You do want to know the landlord laws in your state. It's important that you know those because they will dictate a lot of things, like the notice, how much notice you have to give in order to raise the rent, to get them out, what to do if they don't pay, what your notices look like. If you don't follow one of the notices, then the process starts all over until you follow their exact steps and do it the way they say it has to be done. And tenants know that. We have a lot of professional tenants in the Pacific Northwest, in Washington and California and Oregon. And so because of that, they know how to work those laws to their favor.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I love that,
big,
professional tenants.
yes, yes. I know we need professional landlords. So the good news is, though, I use the landlord laws in Washington state to my favor because I do a rental arbitrage strategy on my executive rentals. I don't own any of my properties in Washington. I rent them from other landlords. I pay them market rent, but now they have to follow all those landlord laws. And I know what those landlord laws are. So when they think they can do certain things, I get to push back. Nope, sorry, you don't get to. Nope, you don't get to. So it's knowing those landlord laws also can help you in your business as well. You do want to have reserves. Absolutely have reserves. Contingency, contingency, contingency. We had no idea about that $50,000 sewer issue that we created, but thankfully we had reserves. Sometimes in some of our markets, we get hurricanes. We'll have additional cleanup. It'll take insurance 3 to 6 months sometimes to cut you a check. That's a long time that you still have to pay the bills until that takes place. I always say too, you want to have at least 2 exit strategies that work. Selling may be one of your strategies, but if there's no buyers in that market because rates went up and people can't afford it and the numbers changed, you need to have another strategy. And what would that other strategy look like? Are you prepared to refinance? Did you run your numbers correctly so you can get your equity back out? Or is everybody's money going to be stuck in there? So always have 2 exit strategies. Be willing to work long hours. Most of the time, people want to go into multifamily because they think it's the easy road. But guess who's getting called at 3 a.m. when a building is on fire? Yeah, that would be me. Because I'm in so many different time zones. Big things, they have to reach out to us. We have property management. They have certain dollar amounts that they're allowed to work within. But if it's a big thing, flooding, hurricane, fire, things like that, they're calling me. Because something as simple as a fence going down can be another $10,000, depending on the size of the property and what it is. So if you're willing to work and put in the hours, the rewards are there, but you got to be willing to do that. Don't go it alone. People want to be a lone wolf, but first off, life is more fun with other people, guys. It is not fun doing it alone. But sometimes people who have not learned leadership skills or they have not learned how to trust others, it'll create a lot of problems. So what we're trying to do in the multifamily space is to create sustainable growth. It's not sustainable if I'm the one doing everything. I have a limited amount of time. But if I have other people on my team, now we all have more time and we're all able to work together and we're able to accomplish more. Plus, it's so much more fun that way. So if you're willing to learn how to get along with others, how to have to figure out if someone else disagrees with you, how to make an executive decision and what that looks like, make your contract be the bad guy. If you have a contract that is well written before you partner and before the stress comes, then when the stress comes, make the contract be the bad guy. So you guys can still be friends or family at the end of it. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you've never done multifamily, do not jump into a 300 unit property. It is just not going to work. And you're going to be so stressed. Your family's going to hate it. You're going to hate it. There's not going to be one enjoyable thing about it. So if you're getting started in multifamily, consider starting small, 10 unit, 20 unit. 20 unit is a good number to start with. The numbers work better than the 10 units, makes a little bit more sense, makes it more worth your while. So 20 to 40 unit is a good sweet spot for those of you that are just getting started and wanting to figure a few things out. But remember, don't partner with inexperienced people. Don't partner up with someone you just met in class. You have no idea what those people are like. You have no idea just because you talk to them for a few minutes what their ethics or integrity are. We have been burned many times. And so that we are incredibly picky about our partners because we want people are more important to us than profits. And we want to be friends at the end of the day when we're done. So if that's more important to me, then I need to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for failure because I'm bringing somebody on who has no experience and expecting them to act like someone who has experience. So don't forego the education. Get it somewhere, whether it's, I have an entire YouTube channel, guys. Go through it. Go through, JJ's building out his. We have Bill Allen next week. There's a bunch of us. Multifamily, although it's a small world, and I know a lot of the operators because we've been in it for so long, it's also, it's just numbers, guys. It's just numbers. So you can educate yourself, but you got to be willing to dedicate the time and the learning and the doing. And I've seen a ton of education programs out there. Michael Blanc is one of the best ones out there. And his syndicated deal analyzer is by far the most dynamic. I have seen deals completely be bought wrong because they use the wrong analyzer. I won't tell you who that one is. I just know that the moment we took that same data and put it into the Michael Blanc one, it was very obvious that it was not a deal and they had already got it under contract and we're going to lose their earnest money, which in multifamily is a very big piece of the pie.
Hey,
So
Bethany,
don't,
can we got some
yeah,
questions? Can we bring some people on?
yeah, let's do that.
Ron Mora, you are on with Bethany Finch. What's your question?
Hey, Bethany. Just a really simple question is like how or what is the best way to vet out partners when potentially looking into a multifamily deal?
That is a great question. I know in your mind it's simple, but it really is a great question because it's so loaded with so many different valuable things that people need to know. First off, if you think of your partnership in multifamily, it's going to go 5 to 10 years. So you're kind of married to those people. So think of it like dating versus courting, right? If you're just dating somebody, you're just out having a good time, no big deal. You're not taking it as serious. If you're courting somebody, you're checking out their family, you're checking out their background. It's not uncommon for us to do background checks on our partners. It's not uncommon for us to do credit reports. All of us provide that information. It's not uncommon for us to get references from other business partners that have been with them through the years. So if it's like you have absolutely no idea who you would partner with, I would say follow somebody that is doing something that you want to do. Maybe it's in a market you're in that you want to be in. Like maybe you like the Huntsville, Alabama market. That's one of our markets. It's great. And so you say, okay, I'm going to find an operator in that area. Find a way to bring value to their team and then come alongside them, gain some experience. You might find people there that'll naturally partner with you. And then others that would be like, oh, yeah, you've been working with us for a whole year and a half now or whatever. And man, Ron, we just think you're great. And you've seen a few things because you've worked with them. So you might only pick and choose one or two of them. So kind of jump in there. The networking events is a good way to get started, but I just don't immediately partner with someone that you just have no experience with. Too many things can go wrong and you can put your family and your assets at great risk.
Interesting. It's like when when you're looking at vetting someone, you mentioned running a like trying to do a background check.
Mhm.
How would you do that without getting like some other like deep personal information?
Oh no,
Uh,
we get personal information. We have to know if our partners have bankruptcies on their records,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
we have to know, for instance, if they've got some felonies, because if they've
Gotcha.
got fraud or sex offender stuff, well, then technically, if they have a sex offender stuff, they can't be on our property if we've got kids, right? We need to know that.
Right.
So absolutely, no, we do. We pull everybody on our team. Everybody has a credit check done regularly. Everybody has a background check done, like FBI level background check. A
Beth,
lot of times, if you don't, that's when people will get burned.
Bethany, if I could jump in on that, I understand when you have people on the property and to get those people verified, tenants, managers, et cetera. But I think, and I want to, maybe I'm going the wrong direction here, but as I heard Ron's question, I thought, how do you vet people that you're going to do business with? And one of the things I'm always talking about, Ron, is really building your network of connections before you need them. Because if we don't build a network, it was, hey, I need to check this out, but we don't have a network of people to help us, then we're kind of on our own. So, I think the big key to real estate is to engage with others, build relationships, find people who are going to like us because of who we are, who we resonate with, build our network before we need it. Because if we don't have a network and just have a friends list, if you're working off a friends list, you can ask someone, can you help me? They're going to go yes or no. If it's a legitimate network and you ask someone, can you help me? And say, well, I don't know, but let me turn to my personal network and see who I can bring to help you. So I just
Right.
wanted to kind of throw that in, Bethany, as far as when it comes to vetting people out, particularly in some of the communities are a little bit larger. Everybody knows one another. So,
Mm-hmm.
the longer we're around, the more people we're going to know, the more oftentimes someone is newer to the whole investment game. It's almost a disadvantage. And Bethany, you know, I've been in this for a while. I've been in this about 6 years, and you've been in this for a minute. Um, all the different programs out there, everyone that's visible knows everybody else, no matter what program you're in. And so
Yeah.
the key is to build your network, build your support base, so that you have people you can call. I just wanted to throw that in to Ron's question.
Well, and it's so true, Ron, because like today, I was literally just talking to I went to an event last Saturday. I'm a Christian, and this was a big Christian investing event. And I was there and just speaking to the folks behind me. Well, their son is a financial advisor. So I said, would you mind? I would love to get his number. And sure enough, I got his number. I just got on a call with him today. Now, he only does stocks and bonds. So while I'm not doing stocks and bonds, anybody who's looking for real estate, now he can refer them to me because he doesn't do that. And now he knows somebody. In return, also, we just got awarded $60 million in bonds from the state of Louisiana. I need to find people who buys bonds. And I don't know that, but he knows people who does, right? So now he's able to send that information over. And so the network is helping to determine who and what and how. But another one, going to networking events, early on, I would go to 4 to 5 networking events, sometimes driving 2 hours one way to go to events. And when I started seeing some of the same people consistently, then I realized who were the go-getters, who are the ones that were faithful and were always showing up and making things happen and getting things done. And it gives you opportunity to see people kind of at their best and worst, right? When you knew it was a busy week and they still showed up, and or we put on big events and they're jumping in with us, right? So things like that, those are also other ways that you can vet out or find good partners.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, Ron, thanks for joining us today, my friend. Thank you so much. Troy, you are on with Bethany Finch. What's your question?
What are your thoughts about if somebody can bring a deal to somebody that has not had, but they have not had the experience, but they're trying to get into multifamily, for partnering up or something. So
Oh
they
yeah.
can
So
learn.
we have people do it all the time. So what you do is you reach out to an operator that you want to work with and you ask them, what is your buy box? You want to know what kind of product they're looking for, what market they're looking for in, so that if you find something in that market, now they're interested, right? Don't bring me something in Washington State. I ain't touching it. right? But if it's in Alabama, if it's in Mississippi, Florida, Louisiana, Texas, any of the Tennessee, all the ones I'm already in, and I don't do Class A. So it's not luxury. I only do workforce housing. So you already know if it's those two things, okay, you already have a potential interest with me. Even if you haven't fully ran all of your numbers correctly, we can tell you if it's worth spending any more time on or not. Or sometimes, because the industry is smaller than people realize, I might have already seen the deal and it's been passed over sometimes as long as a year and 2 years because there's other information that we know. So absolutely, that's how sometimes people, I got a guy that we just met at one of the events I spoke at in Spokane, and he sent over 2 deals so far. Now, one of them absolutely will not work at all because it's Class A. I don't touch Class A. The other one, huge potential. Yeah, we do value add because we also do workforce housing. The reason we don't do Class A is the tenant is a different type of tenant. And the biggest pool of renters in a market is always workforce housing.
Something I run into when I'm trying to underwrite multifamily, because I'm trying to learn the skill, is getting accurate cap rates for an area. What I've been finding is, like, you'll look up, average cap rates for apartments in such area, and it'll come up with anything from like 2% to 10%.
I'm looking it up right now. You can call the commercial brokers in that market, and they'll tell you. But there's a website that I always go to, and I'm not finding it here.
I found a couple that it looks like the agent or has kind of set the cap rate to justify their price.
That is exactly what they tried to do. Yes. And that is absolutely wrong. The appraiser knows the cap rate in that market, and the appraiser is going to use that number. So it doesn't matter what that agent says, the appraiser is still going to use the number that they know that is in that market.
Yeah, I've just been trying to find an accurate place to get that info.
So CBRE is really good and Colliers is really good, and they do publish it yearly. It doesn't change as often as single family. So you're usually close enough if you just get their yearly report. But there is a website, and if you just keep digging, I cannot find it right now. I don't know why, because I thought I had it starred, that you can type in the, maybe it's on realtor.com, but you can type in the city, state, and how many size units, and it'll tell you the cap rate for that specific market.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bethany, did you say to make an offer on a multifamily, we should divide 50% of the gross income by the market cap? Do we have to run numbers on a duplex the same way?
No. So 4 units and down is all considered residential. So that's going to be, an appraiser is going to determine the value based on the comps, what the other duplexes in the area sold for. 5 units and above is all considered commercial, and it's based on the income. So the 50% is if you have 10 units and they each bring in $1,000 a month. So that's, 10 times 10, 1,000, right? Now you have $10,000 a month times 12 months. So you have $120,000 of gross income. That 50% you just cut straight off the top for expenses. The average that we find is it's about 42%. So you're just safe at 50. So just take 50 off the top. So if you had 120, now you take 50 off. So now it's 60,000. That's your NOI. Then you divide it by that cap rate, and that determines your purchase price. Ron had a question here. It looks like he mentioned Michael Blanc's deal analyzer to develop profitability for multifamily. Are there any other ones that are free to use that come close? No. The free to use ones, they're not dynamic, but it's basically an Excel spreadsheet, right? So the ones that you're paying for, they've tweaked them to get you the information you need faster. So they've built in macros and different things like this. So because what it is on a deal analyzer, you're looking at a 5 to 10 year hold. So you need to be able to evaluate all of the numbers over that time frame. So you want to be able to put the information in on one and then have your spreadsheet do the rest of the work and all the math for you. So I haven't found a free one. They're the free ones are very, very basic and really just remind you how much more you need a better one.
So on that same note, let me ask you, I know that when I was in my first education program, the one where we started, a lot of people took their, what they call deal analyzer, and they tweaked it, everybody for a different purpose. Have you tweaked or created your own deal analyzer? Do you use one of the ones that are out there that's available to the public? What do you use?
I still use Michael Blanc's. He does a great job supporting it, and it is very dynamic. I don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
I'm not a spreadsheets person. I don't want to waste all that time and energy. Every time one of our guys gets a great idea, oh, I'm going to fix they just mess it up and make it worse. And so I end up going back to the original one anyway. So for me, it just makes more sense. And there's really no need to. It's only for those people that use spreadsheets, those engineer minds that do it all the time. Oh
Yeah,
no, there's a faster way to do it. And it's like, who cares? Do we get it done? Yeah, then let's spend our time and energy doing something else,
exactly. Exactly. Hey, Darling, I got two last questions, so I think we can sort of wrap it up a little bit here. You just dropped a ton of knowledge on us. We've got people on the call that have asked some good questions. They may want to follow up with you. People watching on YouTube weeks and months down the line, like, hey, oh my God, how do we get a hold of this lady? If people want to follow up with you later on and might have a question for you? One, are you coaching or teaching? Do you have a book out? Do you have a service? Anything of that nature?
Yes, all of the above. This is my contacts. You can reach me by LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. You guys, my YouTube channel is there as well. If you go to my website, AmericanMadeHomeSolutions.com, I have free ebooks on there that you're welcome to. One of them is what to look for due diligence wise for passive investors. Another one is build to rent. What is it and why is it popular? Another one is how to make money in real estate, just simple stuff. I do have a bunch of coaching courses, everything from starting a business, setting up a business to scaling a business. And one of the biggest things that most people leave out, business credit and personal credit. Most of the time they'll start a business, they'll trash their personal credit, and then they can't get approved for anything and they don't know how to solve that equation. So we teach a lot of our contractors and folks how to do business credit and how to build things out that way. I can flip an entire project on one of my lines of credit. So we also have investor opportunities. I always tell people that some of the best ways that you can learn is on the job training. So invest in a syndication, invest in somebody else's multifamily deal, see what they're reporting, see the ins and outs, look at the information, attend the meetings. Once you have an in like that, it allows you that open door access
There you
that
go.
as an outsider you wouldn't normally have. So that's another great way. So we have lots of investment opportunities. I know some of your folks here may be from California, 1031 exchanges, great opportunity. Not all operators use them. We do use 1031 exchanges. So if those are items and ways that you want to be able to take advantage of it, because we always have deals in the pipeline, it's an opportunity for you to know that you can find something.
Now, on that very note, how difficult is it to say I've got a commercial building in LA and I just want to get rid of that thing for all the reasons why landlords want to get out of California? So I
Right?
can 1031 that, and I can, get a hold of you, and you can help me find something where I can get a multifamily in another state.
Yep. Yep. Or
Perfect.
you can go in directly on one of the, some of our projects, we set aside money for 1031 exchanges. And so what that's called is a tenants in common. So it's basically a separate group of it so that you become part of the ownership, basically is how that works.
Fantastic. I've got one last question for you. I'm always talking about networking, the importance of building relationships. There are investors coming every day to the real estate forum of these education groups that has a Facebook community for their membership. They're bringing in brand new experienced and inexperienced investors every day coming to the platform of social media to learn how to do investment. 90% of the people out there are not at all marketing themselves. They're just joining the group for the education. What is the importance, in your opinion, of being visible on social media, of leveraging social media, of using social media to market one's business and oneself? How important is that for the real estate investor?
Well, It's incredibly important. And unfortunately, I learned the hard way. So I know people that are very big and are now on Bigger Pockets stage, and they have very little experience. But because they did a phenomenal job marketing on social media, everybody now thinks of them like the guru, and they've got, I mean, we're talking this much experience. It's just unbelievable, but it's simply because of social media. So I did a terrible job with my social media marketing for a long, long time. And it really hurt me, because if people don't know you, then, and you're trying to build this brand and you're trying to, create some, not just credibility, but have operators come to you, or like how we have a fund now and we go to good operators, things like that. If I don't know who they are, I'm not going to necessarily invest with them. Right.
Yeah.
So it's huge. It's a number one top 10. You have to do social media marketing.
Yeah. As I like to say, people do business with those that they know and like. They cannot like you if they don't know you. They won't know you if you're not visible. If you're not visible, you're invisible. And I promise you, opportunity will walk right past you. So,
yep, absolutely.
Bethany, I really want to thank you for today. You brought some unbelievable knowledge to the call. I'm going to be following up with you myself. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Bethany's video. Please put in the comment section whatever your takeaways were, what you found beneficial. Even if you have a question, if you found some way that possibly I can improve and bring you a better product, please put that in the comments. If you guys are on the call right now, do not go away. We're going to hit Bethany with a couple more questions. We'll get to some breakout rooms, some live networking. But Bethany, we'll be seeing everybody else out there on the land of, virtual networking with YouTube and the internet and LinkedIn and Facebook, right?
Exactly. Yep. And I'll be down for the picnic. So any of those locals that show up to your picnic.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. If you guys are on the call, don't go away. Everybody else, thank you so much. Again, if you want to join my group, go ahead and scan this blue QR code up here and join my networking group.